Josh Allen continues to creep up the ladder, now having the 5th best odds. All right, SA, who do you think's going to ball out more Sunday, Dak or Allen?
I think it's going to be Josh Allen. Now, I didn't know until I was watching Get Up this morning about the inclement weather. And so there are concerns about that because even though it's in Buffalo, both teams have to deal with it, and we get that. But the flip side is, as great as Dak Prescott has been, primarily for the most part, it's been against inferior competition, not to mention the fact that they've been on their home turf. Away on the road, it's been a different animal for the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott has had good road games, don't get me wrong, but it's been a different animal for the Dallas Cowboys. I just think that in a game of this magnitude, it's important for both, but it's definitely significantly important for the Buffalo Bills. Their season is on the line. They know this. They could miss the playoffs. The Dallas Cowboys are just playing for the division crown. They know they're going to be in at the very least as a wild card spot. There's an elevated level of urgency when it comes to the Buffalo Bills, and I'm looking at Josh Allen and I'm saying to myself, this brother is something special. And I know that he's been up and down in terms of his interceptions from time to time, but he's got 35 touchdowns in the first 13 games. 25 touchdown passes, 10 rushing touchdowns. He can beat you. He's a dual threat, obviously a very elite dual threat, and he's been in big moments before. And, Buffalo's the kind of team that responds to a big moment, and then moments that they're supposed to respond to, they take for granted and they don't show up. They're not going to take the Dallas Cowboys coming to their house. They're not going to take that for granted. This is their biggest game right now. I think they'll be up for the task, and I think when you look at Josh Allen and what he brings to the table with Bills Mafia in the house, I think this is going to be a bigger game for him.
Stephen A., I appreciate that, and I think Josh Allen's a really good player, but write this down. The Dallas Cowboys will not punt on Sunday. The Buffalo Bills are ravaged by injuries, and if they can't generate pressure, their opponents complete 75% of their passes. Dak Prescott is going to complete over 82%, and they will go up and down the field on the Buffalo Bills. They're going to score over 40 points themselves on offense.
Wow.
Yeah, I want whatever Mike is drinking this morning, whatever he has in his cup, because I can't understand that one. You talk about Josh Allen, you talk about Dak Prescott, and we look at their record and how great Dak has been playing. Their road victories are against the Giants, the Chargers, and the Panthers. They've been benefiting from home cooking. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are essentially in playoff mode right now. We understand how hard it is to beat a team when their back's against the wall. It's either win or go home for Buffalo right now, because realistically, if they lose this game, their chances of making the playoffs drop significantly. Josh Allen doesn't get the credit that he deserves, especially playing, he's a guy that played in Wyoming. He's a guy that's played in bad weather. So if I got to trust somebody to play bad weather, I'm going to trust the home cooking. You talk about they relying on getting pressure. Well, you get pressure when it's tough for teams to have to go on a silent count. You talk about how ruckus and loud. We played in that division. We know what it's like to go into Orchard Park. We know how that is a college-like atmosphere. We talk about silent counts. You talk about guys getting laid off the ball. That helps the defense to be able to get more pressure. And we can anticipate that they're going to make Dak Prescott in the Cowboys beat them death by 1,000 paper cuts. They're not going to give anything big across the deep. But what?
No, hold on a second. But Bart, here's the difference. Styles make fights.
Yes, it does.
Last week, I don't get them all right, but I said Buffalo was going to go into Kansas City and beat Kansas City because Kansas City's tackles, Jawan Taylor and Donovan Smith, they've been penalized 25 times so far. And Tyron Smith is a Hall of Famer, and that offensive line is going to give Dak all the time in the world, and he will pick them apart. Because of Buffalo's injuries, if they can't generate pressure, they are a below-average defense.
What about on the flip side?
Hold on, boy. I get where you're coming from, Mike T, but here's my issue, okay? First of all, Dallas is undefeated at home. They're a 500 team on the road. Sometimes, like any given Sunday does apply here. You had no business losing to Arizona. I understand you got injuries on the defensive side of the ball for the Buffalo Bills, but they had no business losing to an Arizona team that didn't have Kyler Murray quarterbacking for them at that particular moment in time and were clearly and flagrantly inferior. But nevertheless, they still ended up losing that game. I'm looking at Dak Prescott on the road compared to at home. He's 7-0, 74% completions, 20 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. On the road, 3-3, 63% completions, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I'm also looking at Josh Allen. He's only been sacked 7 times in 7 home games this year. Got a 109 passer rating when he's in Buffalo. There's something about Bills Mafia in that stadium, that home attendance, that has to factor into the equation, particularly, Mike T, because we're talking about football and we're talking about something that I can quote you on, actually could hold you to this quote, because you actually said you can't slip your way around this one. You do say any given Sunday, Mike T. You do say this is the NFL. You do highlight that anything can happen on a particular Sunday. Playoffs is different. The level of urgency elevates, and you understand the level of focus and what have you. But during the regular season, we've seen this kind of stuff happen oftentimes. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at inclement weather. I'm looking at a road game. I'm looking at the noise. I'm wondering about Dallas's penchant for penalties. That comes into consideration as well. And I'm saying to myself, excuse me, again, they are the better team. They should beat the Buffalo Bills. But can the Buffalo Bills win a game like this with Davis, with Diggs, with Allen? Yeah, they could.
Dak Prescott has been impressive, using his legs, getting outside the pocket. You know what it's like to play in Orchard Park. You understand, how those tackles struggle at times, being able to get off in a silent counts and things of that sort. They're going to be a step slow in Dallas when you consider the offense getting off the ball. And I just think that, the Buffalo Bills right now, you talk about a desperate team. This is a team that very easily can have 9 wins. And yes, you are what your record, says you are. But sometimes numbers and records can lie as well as far as the quality of the opponent. I think, listen, the offense of the Buffalo Bills, I think they're going to have a field day because they understand the elements and they're going to have all the added advantages.
Let me ask you this, Mike T. When we're looking at these two teams, Cowboys and Bills, I know a lot of people have the Cowboys as a front runner right now when we look at how Dak Prescott's played and the streak they've been on. And the Bills fell off a little bit, but they're still dangerous. They're still the Buffalo Bills, having Josh Allen at the helm. Who right now would you trust to make it to the Super Bowl more?
Well, I would go with Buffalo from this standpoint. San Francisco has outscored Philadelphia and Dallas 84 points for them against, I think it's 32 for Dallas and Philadelphia. So head-to-head, San Francisco has dominated those two teams. And if you look at the AFC, Molly, it's a great question. It is wide open. Kansas City has struggles protecting Patrick Mahomes, Miami's offensive line. All these other teams have issues. I think Buffalo is the team. If they get in, no one's going to want to play because they can go on a roll. But their injuries on defense is a big concern. And if San Francisco was not in the NFC, I would go with Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go with Dallas because sometimes other people do your work for you, right? So you don't know, what's going to happen with San Francisco. They're so codependent on all their stars. They're so top-heavy. They don't have a lot of depth. We saw what Brock Purdy looked like if Debo goes down, McCaffrey goes down. I'm concerned with McCaffrey's usage. I hope they pull him back a little bit more to try and take some load off of him. But we saw what Brock Purdy looked like when 1 or 2 of those guys got injured, and that's usually what happened in the playoffs last year. If one of those guys get hurt, it throws everything off for San Francisco. So Dallas just has to beat one opponent that's tough, right? Especially if they are able to get the number 1 seed. If not getting the number 1 seed, I think they match up well against the Lions. They're going to play against the Lions as well. They have confidence in playing against Philadelphia. But like to your point, I believe if the Bills get in the playoffs, I think they're the most dangerous team because they're the team that has no expectations. I wonder if Dallas can handle expectations. Whenever we've given them expectations, they've already fallen short. Doesn't mean that that's the outcome this time, but just the history of the Dallas Cowboys that said when we put expectations on them, they fall up short and disappoint.
Well, I agree with you. In terms of what you just said about Dallas and expectations. This is why I love the fact that they're talking about Dak Prescott as an MVP candidate. Just elevate the level of expectations and they'll plummet like a bag of cheap bricks. I mean, we get that part. But the flip side, if we're being totally honest and objective, there's no doubt that the Dallas Cowboys have a better chance of getting to the Super Bowl than the Buffalo Bills because really what you just explained about the San Francisco 49ers is where it's all at. The reality is that they're top heavy. You know what? When you see Brock Purdy and how he looks with Debo Samuels and Trent Williams in the lineup compared to how he looked without them, then that's cause to pause and makes you say, okay, when they have all their ducks in order, there's no way in hell that they're losing to the Dallas Cowboys. They'll beat them up again. But what if they suffer an injury? What's going to happen then? We ain't even bringing up the fact that they lost 4 quarterbacks in one season last year and didn't have a quarterback in the NFC Championship game after the first quarter. So we got to take that into consideration. Then look at how prolific Dallas's offense is. Look at what Mike McCarthy's done. He lied to get the job, like he He said he joked about it. He lied and flattered Jerry Jones. Then he lied about taking over play calling on the offensive side of the ball to get rid of Kellen Moore, talking about he was going to bring more balance, yet they're throwing the football 56% of the times and running it 44% of the time. So there you have it. He just says what he wants to say to position himself to get what he wants. But he is doing the job once he gets the job. And we have to give credit where credit is due defensively. Micah Parsons and those brothers being able to get at the quarterback, and DeRon Bland in the secondary with Stephon Gilmore. There's no doubt that the Dallas Cowboys really just have San Francisco standing in their way to get to the Super Bowl, and San Francisco's got to stay healthy. So I would say Dallas over Buffalo for this particular question.